A wild day of weather winding down tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
And I'm Phil Lipoff. Today we saw several tornado-warned storms, including this one our Corey Reppenhagen was chasing out on the eastern plains. The storms dropped some pretty big hailstones like these viewers sent in from Evergreen, about the size of golf balls. They also sent water pouring out of a storm drain. This was in Adams County.
9 News Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin is joining us now with what we hope is a quiet, very nice ending to a busy day.
It is, and we love the water, we love the moisture, but this time of year there's so many hazards with severe weather. You really need to be careful and you need to be weather aware. The tornado watch for Denver has canceled out. We've been watching severe storms still rumbling around the Lyman area. Fair amount of thunder and lightning out around Yuma and Ray. That's the corner of the state, still seeing some active weather. How about these mammatus clouds? A lot of instability in the underbelly of some of those cumulonimbus clouds. Randy Sanchez out of Aurora with that picture. Terry Epperson, golf ball size hail. That's going to break a windshield, ruin the siding, and do some damage if you're outdoors. Golden Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, 1-inch diameter hail, well over that in Arvada. Down in Pinery in the Parker area, Matheson, 2-inch diameter hail, 2.75-inch diameter hail in Simla, which is out east near the town of Matheson. You're thinking 2.75, what's that? Well, that's baseball size. So, wow, no damage or injuries reported as of yet, which is pretty miraculous. And look at the hail tracker today. Wow, this was fun to watch unless you were underneath one of these little hail streaks. But hailstones were big. We're done with the severe weather for tonight. We're continuing to track a few leftover showers outside of Burlington and also Lyman. Those storms still producing some damaging wind and a little bit of hail. The bulk of that activity moving into Nebraska and Kansas. But those of you around Hugo and Araba, just be mindful for about another 15 minutes or so. You're going to be dealing with some of this weather. So much lightning out on the eastern plains as well, but the trend is for drying overnight, calming, and maybe a little bit of fog as we move through the early morning hours tomorrow. I'll have much more on the Tuesday forecast. We're going from severe weather to critical fire weather. The timing and impact is just ahead.
Denver's Office of Emergency Management is admitting to a mistake.
It says its outdoor sirens inadvertently went off this afternoon when there was no threat. Of course, it would happen at the worst possible time during a severe weather threat. 9 News reporter Janelle Finch joins us now with how this is yet another problem, Janelle, related to alerting the public to danger.
Kim, Phil, when the city activates 86 outdoor sirens, those alarms are hard to take back. OEM says that tornado sirens should not have gone off this afternoon, and this is the third time in 6 months that the city has had issues with its mass emergency notifications. The office put out a press release last month that sirens would be activated more often for life-threatening situations, not just tornadoes. OEM also said during emergencies, phone notifications would also be issued with critical information. Those alerts haven't been perfect either. In January, Denver PD sent out a shelter-in-place alert for an active threat around DU. It should have only gone to phones within a 2-block area. Instead, it went to the entire county of Denver. The Department of Public Safety claimed it was a software error. A similar situation happened in April. An all-clear notice meant for one Denver neighborhood, again, was sent to the entire county. The department said that was human error. OEM says they understand how unexpected sirens can trigger concerns in the community. They say that they're actively reviewing what led up to this unexpected activation, and they're working on steps to prevent it from happening in the future. Live in Denver, Janelle Finch, 9 News.
A reminder, you can stay up to date on the weather anytime by streaming 9 News Plus, scan the QR code and watch for free or download on your app store.
Democrats see Colorado's 8th congressional district from Denver's northern suburbs to Weld County as a pickup target this year.
Tonight, the Democratic debate between the candidates looking to take on Republican Congressman Gabe Evans happened here at 9 News, and they had some explaining to do to voters and the moderator, our Kyle Clark.
Indeed, they did, Kim and Phil. So for State Representative Manny Rutinel, it was explaining why he won't clearly answer about his own changing positions on key issues. First, though, to former State Rep Shannon Byrd, who had to explain why, as a centrist Democrat in the state legislature, she sometimes voted with Republicans against a ban on so-called assault weapons and against a measure to keep ICE from raiding schools.
I and nearly all Democrats voted to ban assault weapons. Like you said, Shannon Byrd was one of just a handful of Democrats to vote with Republicans. She's got a long history of voting with Republicans to kill important Democrat legislation to protect our families.
Every law enforcement officer, chief of police that I spoke to said that that bill could not be enforced. And then beyond that, the bill sponsor himself admitted on the House floor that the bill was unconstitutional.
Shannon Byrd was the only Democrat to vote with Republicans to allow ICE to raid our schools and hospitals, to allow ICE to cooperate with police.
I have been very clear that I have never voted to allow ICE into public schools or hospitals. I don't support it. This was a committee vote meant to make the bill better. There was a provision in that bill that would have fined normal people, frontline workers, personally up to $50,000 anytime their boss broke the law. I didn't think that was right.
The reason that that bill didn't die on that day is because there weren't enough other Republicans or Democrats to join you in killing it. Here's my question. If that vote had been close that day, would you have voted to advance the bill?
Yes, of course
Okay.
I would have.
And there were more examples from the full debate of Byrd explaining her votes with Republicans. Representative Manny Rutinel has changed his position on a variety of issues during the campaign and would not answer direct questions about some of those shifts. You said earlier in this campaign that you support a universal single-payer health system. Is that still your position?
Look, I grew up on Medicaid, and so I know how important it is for us to be able to have affordable, accessible health care. I think that we need to be pushing for a public option, and we also need to be restoring the cuts to Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act that Donald Trump has inflicted on the people of this district. We need to be
With respect, sir, that's a lot of words, and none of them are an answer to the question. You said earlier in this campaign you support a universal single-payer health system. Is that still your position?
We need to be looking for actionable solutions.
With respect, what should voters discern from the fact that you won't answer a question about your own position earlier in this campaign? You said you supported universal single-payer. Do you still support that?
You know, like I said, we need actionable solutions to the issues that Donald Trump and
Okay, if you're going to refuse to answer, we'll move on. Mr. Rutinel, do you support a ban on fracking?
I believe in an all-of-the-above energy system.
This is a yes or no question,
No.
sir. You do not support a ban on fracking? Okay. Earlier in this campaign, you said that you did support a ban on fracking. Why did you change your position?
You know, like I've said before, Donald Trump has sent us into a forever war with Iran without any plans and raised gas prices across the board.
So if the war on Iran ends, will you go back to your previous position in this campaign in opposition to fracking?
I believe in all of the above energy system.
It's a very simple question. If the war on Iran ends, will you go back to your previous position?
Like I said, I believe in an all of the above energy system.
If you're not going to answer, we can move on. And there was more where that came from. You can see the full debate right now on 9news.com and on the next YouTube channel. Colorado's 8th Congressional District is expected to be one of the most competitive in America.
Well, whoever wins is going to have a lot of money from the national side of things because they're going to focus in on this one. But they better be prepared because it's going to get nasty.
Right, and this is expected to be a tough year for Republicans across the country, and therefore could be a tough year for Republican Representative Gabe Evans there in the 8th. But he has put together a pretty impressive war chest himself, so he's not going to be scrapping around for money. If Republicans want to have a shot of holding the House, they need to win districts like Colorado's 8th from the northern suburbs up to Weld County. So we expect a very competitive primary, general election. That's one of the reasons why I asked the candidates tonight, like, what is your message against Evans? How are you certain that you can win? Because for a lot of Democrats, what I hear from them is, we just need to win the seat. Like, if Democrats don't win that seat in a Democrat-waved year, that's a disaster for Democrats.
Yes, it is.
I think it's tough to go into a debate and move the needle for either candidate. Do you think that was done tonight?
I think it's possible, and I think it's unusual, as you say, Phil. But I think the fact that Manny Rutinel could not explain why he's changed his positions within the last few months over the course of the campaign and just didn't even have a semblance of an answer about it and was just talking until we mercy ruled him was pretty wild. You do not see that in debates very often, where somebody can't explain their own positions and don't even have an attempted explanation.
All right. Kyle, thanks.
Well, if you didn't see it, watch it. It's
The whole thing.
available, so before you vote. Thanks, Kyle. The U.S. Department of Education is investigating the Cherry Creek School District. Its Office for Civil Rights says it's looking into allegations of what it calls racially discriminatory programming. The feds are investigating claims that the district violated the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The complaints claim the district sponsors clubs that exclude students based on race. They also allege teachers have to consider race when assigning classes and providing different levels of support, and that a teacher training program restricts participation based on race. In a statement, the district told us it strongly disagrees with the characterization of its programming. Cherry Creek Schools says it has not received a copy of the complaint, so it can't comment beyond that. This is the third investigation the office has launched into a school district in the Denver metro area. Recently, it's threatened to pull federal funding from Jeffco Public Schools over its policies related to transgender students, and it's claimed Denver Public Schools violated federal law by converting a girls' restroom into an all-gender restroom. When students in Denver Public Schools go back to class, they're going to have to go back without something that they will have had attached to their hands all summer long.
Today, the Board of Education voted to ban cell phone use during the school day. 9 News reporter Rachel Krause joins us now. And Rachel, they're hopeful. The idea behind this is that they want to improve learning.
They do. Board members say they hope that the learning gains for kids outweigh concerns from parents that they won't be able to constantly communicate with their child at school.
With friends, shopping, communication a click away, we've gotten pretty attached to our phones. Devices never far from our hands or eyes. But for kids in Denver, that's about to change.
Thank you. With that, the motion passes.
The Denver Public Schools Board voted unanimously for a bell-to-bell cell phone ban. It's a big change board members hope has a bigger impact.
We know that constant access to technology can be a distraction to learning, and I believe our students deserve classrooms where they can focus, connect with one another, and engage deeply with their education.
We really want to see this as a positive. It is focused on sustained attention, reducing distraction, limiting social media harms during the school day.
Board President Sochi Gaitan says now students will need to turn phones in when they come to school. The specifics soon to come.
The superintendent will be working with administrators across the district on determining what the best way is to keep those devices from students throughout the day.
A policy on how to handle cell phones in schools is now a requirement for districts under state law. Around the state, districts are taking action, and people around the country are talking about how to keep kids focused. As part of a national research initiative, Lila DeMasi helped survey more than 100,000 educators around the country about cell phones in schools.
The stricter the phone policy, the happier the teachers, and the stricter the phone policy, the less sort of distraction in class the teachers are reporting.
Gaitan says as a mom, she knows not having immediate access to your kids can be uneasy, but she hopes this change can keep students' eyes off screens and on their learning.
We're hoping it's going to be a positive thing where we are providing better quality learning environments for all students of all ages.
Again, the new state law requires school districts create a policy about cell phone use in schools by July 1st. And a number of school districts already have or are creating policies like DPS. Well, that information as well as more info about DPS's cell phone policy on this story at 9news.com. Reporting live in Denver, Rachel Krause, 9 News.